Did you know that plastics can be dissolved for about a million years? Plastics are considered as the main threat to our ocean as it suffocates our aquatic species and gradually destroy our oceans. Without further ado, let's get started. First things first, we're gonna define what is marine environment. So marine environment is defined as a body of waters which supports diverse range of sea life that is important for the global biodiversity. A healthy biodiversity supports our cultural and social well-being, and the ocean's resources can be considered as contribution to the growth of our economy. The second thing that we're gonna talk about is all about the major sources of pollution and its effect to humanity, animals, and shipping industry. So it was categorized into two parts, which is the land-based sources and the maritime industry sources. So in land-based sources, these are the following. The first is the byproduct of industry, which is common to the factories where they discharges some leftovers from their products that may contain chemicals and may create a pollution. It may ruin the quality of the waters when it was discharged. The second thing is the runoff from the agricultural pesticides and herbicides. We all know that it contains chemicals that may suffocate the aquatic animals when it was discharged. And then the third one is the effluent discharge from the urban areas. So in short, it was called as this sewage, where it contains the dirt, the waste coming from the cities, then it was discharged to the ocean. And the fourth one is the exploration and exploitation activities. The second category of the major sources of pollution is the maritime industry. So the first thing we talk about is the collision, where two ships collides and then they create some impact on it, and then when they create an impact, it would put some damage on the ship, that it will be cause the oil spill, the discharge of chemicals inside the ship. Then the second one is the grounding or the accidental discharge, where the ship runs aground on a hard surface, and then it would create some damage on it, and it would cause it to have a oil spill or discharges of those chemical substances. The third one is the operational discharge, which is quite common when seafarers do some operations and they accidentally discharges those substances and then create the pollution. The fourth one is the tank washing, when we seafarers do some cleaning in the cargo holds, then there are certain particles in the walls of the cargo holds that may contain some substances that may serve as a pollutant when it was washed away and discharged to the ship, to the sea. Next is the ballasting. Next is the machinery space and discharge. And the last one is the docking, which when we go to a certain port in it. So the effects of marine pollution to humanity, animals, and shipping industries are the following. In humans, it would affect the livelihood of people, especially those people who depends their source of income at sea. So in animals, especially the marine animals, they may be entangled on plastics and some sort of debris, and then may suffocate them. It also decreases the oxygen content of the waters. And lastly, for shipping industry, it will affect the operation at sea as they use unhealthy waters during the operation. In order to lessen the pollution incidents at sea, MARPOL Convention was established. The International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, or what we call MARPOL, is the main international convention covering the prevention of pollution of the marine environment by ships from operational and accidental causes. So the original MARPOL was established on February 17, 1973, but then it was put into action on October 2, 1983. So there's a 10 years gap before it was put into action. It was established by the IMO, or the International Maritime Organization, to minimize pollution at seas, including the air pollution, in order to preserve marine environment at its best. So there are 6 technical annexes that were implemented on this convention. The first annex is the regulation for the prevention of pollution by oil. So it covers prevention of pollution by oil by establishing a requirement that every ship sailed must have a double hull to give more protection and avoid uncertain oil spillage and chemical discharge. That's it. So the next annex is the regulation for the control of pollution by noxious liquid substances in bulk. So it is quite common only for bulk carriers. So it imposes details the discharge criteria and measures the control of pollution of noxious liquid substances in ship. So before it was discharged to the ocean, it must undergo treatment for it to lessen the chemical content of this substance, and then it could be discharged to the ocean, but then it will be discharged more than 12 miles from the nearest land. So the third annex is the prevention of pollution by harmful substances carried by seas in package form. So it contains general requirements for issuing on how to package those harmful substances good and high quality. So it is coincide with the said code, IMDG code, which provides some list of goods and then provides how to package it well to avoid spillage, avoid incidents in dealing with these harmful substances. The Annex 4, which is the prevention of pollution by sewage from ship. So it is the human waste, this food waste came from the ocean. I came from the ship, that it must be discharged to the ocean. So before it was discharged, it should be treated to keep some chemicals on it in order to lessen the chemical pollutants on this sewage, and then it could be discharged more than 12 miles from the nearest land. So the Annex 5, or the prevention of pollution by garbage from ship. So it deals with the different types of garbages that when the biodegradable waste can be easily discharged to the ocean because it could be easily decomposed and easily dissolved on it. But then the non-biodegradable, just like plastic, cellophane, must be kept on the ship and will be put to the nearest waste management facilities, because plastics were completely banned on this annex because it is a main threat to the oceans, these plastics. And then the last but not the least is the Annex 6, which is the prevention of air pollution from ships. So it set limits on sulfur oxide and nitrogen oxide emission from ship's exhaust. So ship exhaust is the funnel of the ship where the smoke comes out, and then prohibits deliberate emission of ozone depleting substances. So it's like maybe filtered on this funnel in order to lessen the emission of these dangerous substances, the sulfur oxide and the nitrogen oxide. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you acquired greater knowledge about marine environment. So come on, let's save our oceans.